Hello, everyone. It's that time yet again. Another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. Once again, we're here to break down all the happenings in mixed martial arts. But to do that, I always need my co-host, the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm like I was talking about, just trying to jet lag from the weekend, but everything's good. You?
Yeah, it's pretty much me, trying to catch up from that. We lost 3 hours, then gaining them right back. It's definitely giving me a TKO right now.
I'm kind of used to it now, just doing all the traveling up to Cali, same time zone. So, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I think I'll get over it pretty quickly. But yeah, let's just, start with that. I mean, obviously, we went out to lovely Vancouver, British Columbia to do the commentary for BTC Fight as they had their 10th show, which is a landmark in its own right. But all in all, Josh, it was an exciting show, and it's nice to see a lot of this up and coming talent on the Canadian MMA scene, and the Canadian MMA scene starting to come back.
Yeah, I think it was just exciting because we got to go and be with people and be around people and go to restaurants, you know what I mean? Like normal life.
Yeah.
But the show itself was great too, man. We talked before, most of the card was just full of young talent that really hasn't been, haven't broke out yet. You know what I mean? A lot of them are making their pro debuts or very small records, if that. So it was a fight card for further to set up further fights for BTC, really. But it made for a lot of exciting fights, and we saw some good up and comers, and yeah, man, I think the card went well.
Definitely did. It was a interesting experience commentating a show without fans.
Yeah,
like I don't know how you felt, but to me it felt like because everyone could hear what we were saying, someone was like peering over our shoulder and whatnot. But I mean, it's something I guess to remember. In 5 years from now when this is all behind us and every event has fans and everything like that. But the fights were fantastic, especially our main event, Josh Bukowski, Lucas Neufeld. These two featherweights, they lived up to the hype. I mean, it was a real close fight, as were with all the fights on the card. But the main event, I thought, really put a icing on the cake of what was a great night of fights.
Yeah, the main event was great. Both guys fought well. Both are up and comers for sure. That we, calling the fight, I think we both had it the same way. The only round that was, definitive was the second round for Josh. And the first two were very, very good, very back and forth, very close. And the judges end up scoring both those rounds for Neufeld. You got the decision. But I think either way you went, that was, there was no robbery there at all. That was a very close fight. And both guys just kind of left it out there.
Anyone else kind of leave a impression on you, Josh, for future BTCs or their career to progress as it goes on?
Yeah, man, there's a couple. The first one that comes to mind is Van Kill. Just I didn't get to see much of his striking game, but what he is best at, definitely on the mat at least. He pulled off a really slick sub, and he looked very calm in there too for a guy, only having some amateur fights, no pro fights yet. So he was impressive. I like to see more of him and see what he can do. I'm trying to think of somebody else like off the top of my head that looked great. The two young kids, the 19-year-old kids, man. They'll both have some. If they can continue to build like they are now, they already look like vets out there. So I can only imagine a couple more years and more fights under their belt, they'll both be very good.
Yeah, I would totally agree, especially on Van Kill looking cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
Like, that was a guy that definitely didn't seem like he was making his pro debut. Felt like he had at least, 5 to 7 fights as a pro already. Was just cool, calm, collected. And then you mentioned he had a very unique submission, like an inverted arm triangle choke.
Yeah, it was like an arm triangle choke, but in a rear naked. It was like a rear arm triangle choke. Yeah, it was cool, man. I've never seen that one really pulled off and somebody finished like that.
Yeah, for sure. And as well, you mentioned those two 19-year-olds in Izu Atma and Jake Gervaux. Jake Gervaux got the submission with like 28 seconds left in the fight. And for a guy that had no amateur fights or only did competitive grappling, I was really impressed with that kid, especially the age, but really just known as a grappler. He had a good set of hands on him too.
Yeah. Both guys looked pretty well rounded. You know, they look like they're decent everywhere. There's not really too many big holes anywhere. Yeah, and the one guy being 5'11". I wonder if he is going to stay at bantamweight. You know, he's only 19. He's going to get bigger still for the next few years. He's going to get that man muscle on him. So he might be someone that moves up, but we'll see.
Well, all in all, Josh, it was a great time spent out in Vancouver calling some great fights. And as well, you know, it's great to see that the Canadian scene's coming back. Like BFL had an event the night before, BTC, and then, you know, going to August, we know Unified's going to make their UFC Fight Pass debut finally out in Edmonton. So Canadian MMA scene, it's slowly but surely coming back.
Good, man, because it's been dead for a year plus, you know. So yeah, that's good. I'm happy about that. You know, the more show, I always say the more shows, the better for all the fighters. But yeah, BFL definitely a staple out in BC, and Unified, you know, it's probably the top show in Alberta, I would imagine right now. Yeah, so those ones, you know, are starting to come back, and BTC eventually will be able to do a show at home in Ontario. So yeah, man, it's a good sign.
It definitely is a good sign that we're getting back to normal, and you know, going from a trend getting back to normal is now a normal trend in combat sports. And that was on Sunday night. As soon as I got home, I watched the Mayweather Logan Paul pay-per-view, and you know, sure, the fight wasn't great, but I mean, what are you expecting for old Floyd Mayweather versus a guy that's 0-1 as a boxer? But I mean, the spectacle, once again, it was in there, but it's an exhibition, so no one wins, per se. It's just fight goes whatever. But is there any real winner or loser here, Josh? Do you think, like, Floyd Mayweather became a big loser because he kind of pushed this guy to the limit and could have taken him out when he didn't, hurt his reputation? Or is Logan Paul the big winner because we're going to hear more about the Paul brothers for going on out?
I'd say if anybody, probably Logan Paul would be the winner. You know, the guy just got to box Floyd Mayweather and made millions of dollars, and didn't actually lose because it's an exhibition, didn't get knocked out. So yeah, if I had to pick anybody, you know, it would be him as the winner. And as far as Floyd, I bet Floyd, I seen somebody post this today. I think it was like, you know, he's 44 or 5 years old. You know, he's not, actively competing at the highest level, but yet he still managed to make millions and millions of dollars in an exhibition match fighting a guy that's, you know, almost 20 years younger than him. And, you know, what they have 40 pounds on him.
Yeah.
And he was a YouTuber, you know what I mean? So yeah. I guess he's winning too, as well. You know, what does Floyd care? He's getting paid, you know, he didn't get embarrassed, didn't get hurt. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think overall they're both winning, dude. It's a circus for sure, but circuses sell. People want to go to the circus, and you know, a lot of people sign up to see the craziness, and those guys just brought it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, for people, like, my overall thoughts on it was the fight boring? Sure, but it's a guy that, as I said, has one boxing fight versus the greatest of all time that's just going to push the fight as long as it needs to go for the entertainment value. He knew people had paid their money to tune in, and he does. If he wanted to get, you know, Logan Paul out of there quickly, he could have, but chose not to, and it went.
Do we know that for sure? I don't know.
I'm sure he could have. He was pressing him and hurt him, Logan, with a couple body shots. If he really wanted to end it, he would have just hit him with the body a couple more times, probably.
I don't know, man. I think he definitely played with him the first 2 rounds for sure. Then he started cracking him a little bit, and he was looking to get in. Just the reach and size difference was big. And so I don't know, man. I seen a couple people like saying, going back and forth of, like, there's a little clip of where he actually cracks him and, like, he holds him up. He holds Logan Paul up, and I don't know if that's real, if he just kind of like stumbled into him, but I don't know. Maybe he couldn't put him out, or maybe he just played with him and just want to, you know, go the 8 rounds and, you know, make him survive. I don't know. Nobody really knows except Floyd.
Yeah, well, I think it was definitely a lot of Floyd, playing with his food was the term that they used a lot on the broadcast. And I think it was because I just think he was doing well on the damage. Obviously, I don't think he was going to get the knockout, standing at the head because of the size advantage that Logan did have. But, I mean, you know what? This trend will continue, as we have talked about before. And for people say that, like, this is the death of boxing, like, boxing's been doing this forever since Ali and Inoki back in Japan.
Yeah. So I guess it's for the modern era people that didn't really follow boxing. It's always been happening. You know what I mean? It's even like they talked about on the fight with Rocky and Thunderlips, Hogan and Rocky 3. You know what I mean? It's even in that movie they did a circus kind of fight. You know.
It almost seemed as well like Showtime wasn't taking it too serious. I mean, some of the graphics that they had were like, sure, Floyd had that exhibition in Japan against Session Nestacao, but the first one were like, and Floyd's other exhibition, WrestleMania 24. I was like, this is serious graphic that they threw up there. So I don't know. It's something obviously I can see Showtime obviously coming back to, because now it seems like they have the Pauls under contract. Floyd's a Showtime guy. So, but do you think the audience the paying audience took it serious? It didn't look that packed in that football stadium, honestly.
I was going to say that, yeah. Did they have like a limit? I didn't think so because it's Florida's whatever, right?
Yeah, it's Florida. You can whatever, but it looked dead in there.
Yeah, it did not look very busy at all. So maybe they didn't sell as many as they thought they would as far as actual tickets. I don't know how they did it pay-per-view wise, but.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be, I think, the real determination if this was a success is the pay-per-view numbers, which we don't know yet. But I thought, just the lack of people there, I thought maybe showed that maybe people are getting a little tired of this kind of shtick of, a YouTuber versus a boxer or whatever. Like that kind of audience just wants to see real competitive fights.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It kind of just depends what the numbers, like what they say. If they sold a shit ton of pay-per-views, then it's still a thing. But yeah, as far as people there, it didn't look very packed, man. I heard, I don't know what's true about the purses, but I heard on somebody posted it was like Floyd got 100 million and Paul got 20 million. So if that's true, then I seen Francis Ngannou posted saying like, what are we doing wrong? Like, I mean, that he's the number one heavyweight in the world and he's not making nowhere near that, right? So it's pretty crazy.
Well, what they're doing wrong is, unfortunately, they're in a sport run by promoters, promotions, where instead of you have governing bodies and people can make X amount, where that's just going to be the downfall of MMA, making that kind of purse is promoters are going to set the limit of, I guess, what they can pay guys or are willing to pay guys.
Yeah, I guess until that breaks, kind of just stuck there,
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, to see just the amount of money being paid for Logan Paul, one of the top draws in combat sports. But all in all, I thought it was interesting too. Like, maybe it didn't do so well in terms of the live gate because it's a rare Sunday boxing pay-per-view.
That's true as well. Yeah, it wasn't a Friday, Saturday night. So Sunday night is definitely going to be a less busy night for people to go out to an event, right? So maybe that also has something to do with it.
What do you think of them doing Sunday? Because I thought it was kind of fun, that and the novelty that we saw boxing on a Sunday, but I don't know if it'll stick.
I don't mind it. Like I like boxing, but I do not follow it like very closely. I'll watch some fights here and there. So for me, Sunday would be cool because it's just another night to add something else that maybe I'll catch it. Especially like either a big fight or a weird fight like this. But yeah, as far as Fridays and Saturdays, I'm usually it's MMA for me. I'm watching, right? So if they did it Sundays, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we'll see how they do. And I mean, they plug the full lineup for Showtime pretty much in the two Bellator shows that are coming up this month. So a little bit more exposure there for Bellator for some people tuning in. So all in all, I guess that'd be a win for the Showtime fans and the Bellator roster.
Yeah. I mean, they're paired up with Showtime. So, playing the freak show fights like this will definitely draw more eyes into Bellator as well.
as well, Scott Coker did say, he was there, obviously, did say he'd be open to Logan Paul competing with them in Bellator. I mean,
of course you would.
I mean, Bellator, it's like Bellator's not used to running away from that freak show thing. They had that Legends kind of fights with Ken Shamrock, Royce Gracie, and of course the ultimate freak show with Kimbo Sliced out of 5,000 back in the day. So I don't know.
They seem to be going away from that, right?
Yeah.
As in the last like 2-3 years or whatever it's been. And they're kind of like, they're going more legit, like actual ranked, reputable, good fighters. So we'll see if I wouldn't be surprised if they did go that route. That would kind of be like the old ways of Bellator kind of taking over. But the way they're going now, it's kind of the opposite. So if they did do it, I could understand why, just because like, they'll make a beating, right? And they'll just draw so many eyes in and whatnot. So that would be, I mean, it would be interesting, but like it would suck for us fighters if some YouTuber comes in and is going to get paid 100 times more than all of us. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is like, would you, especially you, a Bellator contracted fighter, like to see that? Because, Logan's going to take up, a Paul brother's going to take up more space or someone like that on a card where someone's, earned the opportunity, been a member, and obviously the pay discrepancy, because they're just not going to do it for even what a high-end Bellator fighter's making.
Yeah, I would be, like, I mean, I'll fight him then. Let me fight him. Just give me the money.
There you go.
Fight. But yeah, I would, it would suck, right? Because the guys on the roster have all been putting in years and years of work and dedication to get good enough to be a part of that roster and make a living from fighting. And then some guy's just gonna come in because he's a YouTuber, because he's famous, and just grab a spot and make more money than anybody to fight whoever they want, right? So yeah, that would suck. It would be like, it was like in the WCW when Arquette won the the championship belt, and everybody was so pissed, right? And the rest was pissed too, because like he was this guy comes along, didn't put work, no training, and then gets this gold that everybody wanted. So it would kind of be similar to that. But at least David Arquette now it went back and did the indie scene and actually trained and put it in the work, like a true dog he is. So I mean, if Logan Paul actually trained and put some time in and maybe got some fights first, like some lesser fights, maybe some on a regional show, and got to a somewhat decent record and brought him in, but they won't do that. It's like a CM Punk, it's the same type of thing.
Fantastic David Arquette reference, Josh. Absolutely love that. It would kind of be, great documentary. It would be like that. Only I think the only difference I would say is Arquette never wanted the title in WCW. It was just Vince Russo pushing it on them for, hey, we're failing so far in the ratings. Let's get out there and put the title on a movie star who's just in a movie related to us. Whereas the Pauls seem like they want to fight more so for more of the fame than I guess anything, and the money they can make for sure. But I don't know. And for me, like seeing what Bellator did with, if they go this route, I don't think they will, because as we've talked many times, they're trying to really build their cards up to be on paper as comparable to what a UFC or anyone else can put out there. Yeah. But even when Bellator put on those freak show fights back, in 2016, 17, they didn't do as well in the ratings as I think they thought they would. Like, sure, you can wheel out Ken Shamrock one time against Kimbo Slice. There was a story there, but not literally meaning wheel out, but that's what I'm saying. But they didn't do that well. Like when Kimbo and Dada 5000 fought, like that was actually a sad moment in the history of MMA and the promotion.
Yeah, and I didn't even know who that guy was, man. I knew who Kimbo was, right? But yeah, I had no idea who the hell Dada 5000 was, but. I don't know. I mean, there's going to be some guys that are like me that don't know who Logan Paul are either, right? Or Jake Paul. So I don't know. I don't see them going that way. But if they do go that way, then they should. Somebody in whatever weight class he decides to fight in should get like a golden ticket there, and if whoever fights him should get a big payday.
Damn right, he definitely should. Someone should definitely step up. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. And Bellator kind of, I guess, trying to keep their name flowing with this Mayweather Paul thing. So I mean, they do have themselves a solid card this Friday night. So, I mean, we'll get to that in a sec. But it's a busy weekend of mixed martial arts, Josh, as it's kind of a little slow with 2 holidays, both in Canada and the United States. And then now we're back at it, like PFL, we got Bellator, and the big one is obviously UFC 263. So let's just dive right into the UFC. Obviously, main event, Israel Adesanya defending against Marvin Vettori in a rematch from a few years ago. I mean, I think the interesting aspect is how Adesanya is going to come back after losing. Sure, his last fight was up a weight class against, now the current light heavyweight champion, but, losing may affect you a little bit. It's going to inspire him to, I think, come out a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about the Vettori guy still. I'm only seen, I think, 2 fights of his. But I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him to win. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think, Adesanya coming off a loss. I know it's a different weight class, so he's going back to his regular one where he's undefeated there. I just think the blueprint was shown kind of on how to beat him. I know he's a bigger man, so it's easier when you put that weight on him, hold him down. But that Vettori guy, the first fight they had was actually, I think it was a split, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really close.
Yeah, it was a super close fight. So if you can make just a few little adjustments and maybe utilize more wrestling and body position and whatnot, he can definitely pull off the win. So I'll pick him. I have a feeling.
I like this. I like picking Marvin Vettori, Josh, because I think Vittori's got a chance. I mean, one, you're motivated because you think you've beat this guy many years ago, and the opportunity to fight for the title falls in your lap right now. 2, he's shown some really good wrestling, both against Hermansson and then dominating really Kevin Holland with his wrestling back in April. And 3, maybe you can strike where the iron's hot, where Adesanya is coming off a loss. I'm going to still go with Adesanya because I think he's in his natural weight class. And he's got something to prove against a guy that, feels like he's beat him. But I also still feel like Adesanya's trying to work himself up into the fight. And when you get to that point where you're trying to motivate yourself against your opponents, I do have a little bit of doubts. But I just think Adesanya's skill set will be a little too much. But for me, it's really, of the fights on this card, I'm excited for it. It's a good main event, but I'm more excited in the flyweight title rematch between Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, because that first fight they had was a classic, arguably second best fight of 2020.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was good. And I remember watching it. I said Figueiredo will win if he gets him out of there in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
If Moreno survives, he's going to win a decision. And then it went to the thing and it ended up being a draw. Was there a point taken away? Is that why? I can't remember. Or was there a 10-8?
I think there was a 10-8.
I don't remember. But it ended up a draw. And, so it's a good fight. I'm pumped to see that rematch run back. I don't know, man. I kind of want to still go with Figueiredo. But that Moreno is just a little tough fucker, man. And it's hard to put him away. But yeah, I'll stick with Figueiredo. I think he impressed me with his gas tank last time. I thought he'd run out of gas after the second, and he kept it going all 5. So I'll stick with him.
Yeah, I'm leading with Figueiredo too. I think he actually finishes the fight this time. I think he's gonna probably find a way where he can.
I think he'll finish by sub if he does.
Okay. Yes. I thought he would finish by knockout, but submission's a good choice as well. But yeah, Moreno is tough. And crazy, another guy that's had so much success in the UFC, especially after getting cut. He was the last pick of the Olympic fighter. I believe won it and then got cut, came back, and now had this amazing fight, especially on short notice, where they fought on the previous pay-per-view in November, then to December, and now have had this time. So I think this fight can live up to it. And I mean, that's easier said than done. It's so hard to live up to such a great fight once you've had one before.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's hard to, do that again with the same guy, right? Especially after being in such a war with him the first time, people might be trying new things to try and, capitalize on past mistakes that might have been corrected. And it's just, it never usually plays out to be the burner like the first one.
No. And, you kind of mentioned my next thing. It's it's a rematch. You kind of have to do something a little bit different, right? Like you've each laid your blueprints out on what you want to do. If you're Brandon Moreno, what do you got to do differently, Josh, to take the title off Figueiredo?
It's hard. I can't even really remember the first one. I remember it was a great fight, but it's hard to remember like what happened and what he did. I would say, get in his face earlier more and put the pressure on him. Look for takedowns. Even though he's known he's that Mexican boxing style, like a good striker. But yeah, try to really tire Figueiredo in that first round. And even if you have to clinch and put him on the cage for a round, just to grind him and just wear him out. Easier said than done. And Figueiredo is big for the weight class too. So yeah, I would imagine that. You know what I mean? Just get up in his face a little bit more. But he might even did that. I can't even remember the fight. I have to watch it, to see what adjustments you can make.
Yeah, I what I do remember is he took a lot of punishment early and was able to survive it. So less of that, I think, would be a big thing. Don't leave your hands down low and getting kind of teed off on. And I know it shows your toughness, surviving, especially the power that Figueiredo has. But less of that, I think, would be a start.
I mean, yeah, for me, like, I know that I can take a shot. I got it, like, a heart when I need it there, but I don't want that to be my number one defense. I want that to be number 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? I want to, keep this intact, my brain, and take little damage as possible, and try to, have the most damage on the output. But yeah, I mean, at sometimes in fights, you kind of get in that war, especially his style, and it's just kind of like, okay, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you. You hit me, and it just turns into this cool brawl, which benefits the fans because everybody loves seeing it. But yeah, maybe a little bit more technical, a little bit smarter. Don't get hit as much.
Yeah, never. Always a good strategy not to get hit as much as the last time you stepped in the cage. And if I'm Figueiredo, I just try to maybe push it a little bit more. If I tag him, try to find a way to get him out of there, whether it's by TKO, KO, or submission, and maybe try to use some of your ground game, because we didn't really get to see much of that in the first fight.
Yeah, I think he was just so set on knocking him out, and we've seen, he does have a good ground game. We've seen when he did the Joe and what he did to Royal, was it Royal? No, was it?
It was to Tim Elliott too.
Oh yeah, Tim Elliott. That's right. I forgot about that one. But
Perez, and Alex Perez, yes.
Perez, right? I remember that one. Yeah, but yeah. So he's definitely got a great sub game. So I could see, he's hit Moreno with some, I don't know how many big shots that didn't knock him out. So, you might, start that way, but look to maybe get it to the ground, maybe look to get his back, and look to get him out of there by sub. Yeah,
I agree. I think we'll see something different. I think we will see this fight on the ground a little bit more than the first bout. But as well, Josh, on this card, we have the return of Nate Diaz taking on Leon Edwards.
I'm a Diaz fan. I'll watch those guys fight any day. It's crazy because when they first started, I hated Nate. I did not
really.
Yeah, when I remember back in the day, I'm like, I don't like this guy, and even Nick at first, I was like, and then I started watching more on it, and watched Nick in like Strike Force and whatnot, and I became a huge fan. And I think this is not a good fight though for Nate. I think what's his name? Edwards, right? Edwards is I feel his striking is crisp. He's so technical. I think he'll kind of just pick apart Nate, and I don't think Nate's wrestling is good enough to get him down there or keep him down there, because he's very explosive. And I could just see him like kind of busting him up, and knowing Nate with all that scar tissue, I could see him start leaking again, and maybe cut him open, fight being stopped like that. But yeah, I'm rooting for Diaz. I'm a huge Diaz fan, and maybe if he just kind of overwhelms him and kind of picks it up later in the fight and just kind of puts the volume on him and kind of breaks him down, I could see him doing that. But if I had to put money down, I'd put it on Edwards.
I'd put it on Edwards too, because he's been more active. I mean, Diaz hasn't fought since the end of 2019, so he's missed pretty much all the pandemic. And while Leon Edwards is a guy that had such bad luck and had to wait forever
until that one
Yeah.
around.
He did at least have a fight, though. He did maybe get to shake some of that rust off, and he did look really good against Bilal Muhammad.
He did look good, yeah. I think it was only about 6 minutes, around and a bit. Like, it wasn't long.
Yeah, it was. It was stopped by the eye poke in like the early stages of round 2.
So I mean, he's had 5 minutes of work in the last 2 years for him too.
Yeah,
something like that. So both guys don't have a lot of cage time as of recent, but yeah, he was looking really good in there, and I don't know, man. It's a tough one for Nate, but we'll see what he can do.
I mean, I think Nate Diaz is at the point where win, obviously, it's great for the UFC. Lose, I still think he's still going to be a marketable name, and it's not going to affect him. Yeah, it's not going to hurt him.
Is that 170? Is that 170, right?
It's 170 because Nate didn't want to go back to he only wants 170 years now.
Yeah, I don't know why, man. I think he can make 55, right? I mean, he doesn't overly look that big. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's getting older. He just wants to fight 70, but doesn't want to cut any weight anymore. But yeah, I always liked him at 55.
I always thought 55 was his best weight class. It was the perfect one for him because when he first went up to 170, remember, he had some success, but was a little too small for 170.
Yeah. I remember like Roy McDonald throwing him around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and Roy's huge at 70. So just running into some guys like that, like guys that are just monsters, like a Usman, or even like Gilbert Burns or Colby. Like, those guys are all big dudes, man. So yeah, I would prefer to see him at 55, but he wants to fight at 70. So.
Well, he says it's the money division because he's in it now. So because he's in it now,
I would say 55 is way more popular than 70.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm first of all more excited to see what Nate can do, and I think if he loses and say Conor McGregor loses in July, that's still a win-win for the UFC because there's the fight. You finally get to make the trilogy that people have been wanting to see forever. But I want to ask you this now on Leon Edwards because this is a guy that's got like a fantastic record, beaten everyone pretty much in the UFC except the current champion. If Edwards wins, does he get the next title shot? Because logic says yes, but this is the UFC we're talking about.
Probably only if he does it in like amazing fashion.
Yeah.
But I think Colby's fighting him next anyway, right?
He is, yes.
So it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that is true.
They'll probably did they have that fight set yet?
I don't believe they have it set because I'm sure they're still looking for places to hold pay-per-views.
It kind of depends on when that is too. If it's going to be in the next 2 months, then he can just wait and fight the winner or also be ready as an alternate if something happens. I know they do that now too. But yeah, I think the Colby fight, I mean, Colby does deserve it too. You know what I mean? He's that first fight they had, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. And then, he finished him in the 5th, which I still thought it was a bit of an early stoppage, but he would have won the round anyway. So he would have won the fight anyway. But yeah, but he's since then, I think he's won at least 1 or 2.
He beat Tyron Woodley. That's, I believe, the only fight he's had back. Okay, but he dominated Tyron.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but I thought he had 2 for some reason. But I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends on what they want to do. I think the Edwards would have to be like a really, really fantastic win to get it.
Yeah, I think that would be it. I mean, there's options. I don't believe Wonderboy Thompson has a fight booked, but that'd be one.
Yeah, he's fighting Burns.
Right. He's fighting Burns. So, you know what? I would think if, say, Edwards wins, he won't get the title shot. How about Michael Chiesa? I know it's a guy that maybe, you wouldn't think much about, but Chiesa looked great against Neil Magny back in January. Why not, get him up there? That's a big 170er in Chiesa.
Yeah, I like that fight, and it's a battle of styles too, grappler versus striker. I like that one. I think that's a good one. That could be put it on the same card as if Usman and Colby are fighting, put it on the same card and winner gets a title shot.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. Yeah, so all in all, I mean, that is pretty much the keys to UFC 263 from the great state of Arizona. We got a couple of Canadians on the card too. Alexis Davis is back, and Hakeem Dawodu finally making his return to the UFC for this year. He got hurt, now he's back, so it's great to see Hakeem back because I think he's going to be one of the breakthrough guys in 2021.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I like Hakeem, and he's good, man. He's fighting some Russian guy, right? I don't know a lot
Yes,
about him, but
Mazvar Ivilov.
yeah, I've never heard of him, but I'm sure he's some Dagestani Russian that's probably got great grappling and wrestling sambo, right?
Yeah, 14-0. So I mean
Yeah,
that, like a lot of those Russian guys.
a lot. I mean, some of them are obviously very, very good. There's the killers out there, but some do have like a very, say, comfortable record, very padded. But yeah, I'm assuming this guy's good. And it might, the wrestling's always going to be the biggest thing with Hakeem, right? He's going to want to keep the fight on the feet and knock you out. He's got great Muay Thai. Yeah, the problem is that is just trying to keep people take Hakeem down, but it's hard to keep him down. He's a very strong, athletic, explosive guy. So we'll see what he does with this Russian.
You know what I think is, just looking at the card quickly, one of the more interesting fights is Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calderwood. Like, this is really, whoever wins this probably should face Shevchenko next, because Calderwood did have the opportunity at the title, lost it to Jennifer Maia, had to work her way back. But Lauren Murphy's put together a nice string of wins here recently. I believe she's on a 4-fight win streak. So I think if Murphy, gets a win here, I think you definitely got to throw her in line against Shevchenko.
Well, yeah. Who else is there going to be?
Exactly.
So 100%. I think whoever wins gets the title fight, because in the process of elimination, really, there's no more contenders left. So yeah, whoever wins that is probably going to get a shot.
Yeah, and I think, for Lauren, she's done a lot to kind of get herself out there with interviews, whether it's right after a fight or talking to the media. And I think, that's commendable. She's doing whatever she can to market herself for a girl that you may not know a lot about, but she's got quite an interesting personality. So I'm kind of rooting for Lauren a little bit, because she's pushing herself to get that opportunity. So that can be commendable as well. But moving on, Josh, as well, like I said, it's a busy weekend. Bellator, they have their welterweight champion in Lima defending the title against a undefeated Ukrainian this Friday night against Yaroslav Amosov. I think this is the toughest test for Lima since being Bellator champion.
Yeah, I bet one of them for sure. I fought on my first Bellator fight. Was it? Yeah, I was. I'm looking at the thing. He was like, I think he's 26-0, something like that. 25.
25-0.
25-0, man. So as they're talking about these Russians, this guy, he's good. He's well-rounded though. His striking's good, but obviously his wrestling, grappling is one of his best things. Yeah. So I mean, Lima, you see him before. The way he's lost in the past is usually by wrestlers. I know he's very well-rounded, and he's gotten so much better. But his best way to win is on the feet, right? For sure. But I'm a huge fan of Lima. I love watching him fight. But yeah, this is a very tough test for sure.
Yeah, I'm all about Lima as well. I think because, one, he's kind of a homegrown Bellator guy, and Bellator needs a lot of those guys right now. But it'll be an interesting fight, and this is a tough test. A guy that's maybe not fought someone at the level of Lima, but has the skill set, I think, that could take the title off him. But the other interesting thing about this card, Josh, is Mohegan Sun. They get fans back.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. I mean, I know the Mohegan, they got it all set up there, and it's great, and it's a great place, great venue. I'm just hoping they soon start to travel and go other places as well, because that'd be cool. But it's good to see that they're actually having fans there. That's awesome. I wonder how many, if they have a limit or something. I don't know.
It's got to be something like between 15 and 25%. But as we've seen with like the NHL here in Canada, like those limited fans, they still sound loud and great, and it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I've done it twice now with no fans, and I'm kind of over it. Like I just get fans in there, back to home.
Oh, for sure. Especially after calling it, it's like you kind of need that energy in there from the fans. Yeah.
When we were calling, it was weird. Like I could, because everybody can hear us, talking, and usually nobody can really hear us there because it's the crowd, and it was just kind of weird and I'm sure the fighters could hear us too. It was just it's a cool experience, but definitely I prefer it with fans. Yeah.
I'm sure they would too, right? They'd love to thrive off the energy, and I'm sure you as well. Next time, if it's at Mohegan Sun or wherever Bellator plans on traveling, or if they have plans, I think by now they should have plans to travel out of Mohegan Sun. I don't know how many more dates they have booked there. Obviously, we know June they're there, but the way the States has opened up, you have to start to be thinking about going to some of these other states.
I would imagine. I know they have. Yeah, June is there. Did they have July booked there yet? I'm not sure.
We don't know anything about July yet.
No, I know they have 2 shows in June there, and then maybe after that, we'll start moving around a bit. Hopefully, we'll see what they plan on doing.
Surprised they haven't hit Texas yet, honestly.
Yeah, Texas, Florida. You know what I mean? Those definitely could 2 states right there that they could easily do. But
and I know they have a casino that they run in California too, and I know California's starting to open up by like August because Cage Warriors is running some shows there. The European promotion, they're making their U.S. debut. So at Taichi Palace, so maybe they'll go run at Taichi Palace as well.
Oh, the Taichi Palace, yeah. They used to always have the WCs there.
I remember that back in way back in the day. Yeah. So. I could see them doing it. You got to be, I think if you're a promotion right now like that, you got to start thinking of how to get out there and get to see some fans, because obviously that's the UFC's mindset. I know WWE's doing that starting in July. So Bellator getting fans in, but I'm sure some people are maybe a little tired of Connecticut there. No offense to Connecticut, but they probably want to see the rest of the 50 states in the US of A.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good spot to go for like a weekend, a casino if you're into casinos and stuff, or see a show, see a fight. But around it, there's not a whole lot to do.
Yeah,
as far as the tourist attraction.
I know you're desperate to go to a place where there is stuff to do as a tourist attraction next time you go for Bellator.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the best things that come with fighting is to get to see new cool places that you probably never have gone. I got to go to Russia twice. I got to Romania, fight in Vegas, somewhere cool, just somewhere that's different, not just, I was joking, I've fought 3 times at Bellator so far, and I've been to Connecticut, Thackerville, Oklahoma, 2 dream spots to go see.
The dream. Yeah, exactly. The dream destinations where anyone would want to fight for a major promotion. But those are big.
Hawaii, Japan, Ireland, Italy, France, all these cool spots. And then, of course,
keep yourself healthy for that December Hawaii card that they run. That's where you should be selling yourself right there. Anything December, bring the fam out there for a vacation too. I mean, it's a dream right there.
The dream, man. That'd be sick. Hawaii, can't beat that.
I totally agree. Plus, I love those shows that they do out there too.
Hawaii or Japan New Year's Eve. That's another one.
Well, that's for sure a bucket list, and I don't know if that'll happen this year, just with Japan and their state of COVID. But definitely keep your eyes open for that. I have this feeling that Bellator will do a Bellator Grand Prix with your weight class, the bantamweights, and somehow they will include the Ryzen guys or send some of you guys over to Japan. And I guess, I don't know if it's a first come, first serve, but just volunteer yourself to go to Japan then, Josh.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up. I'm in. Put me in. I'm there.
Hands up, first one to Japan. I mean, I guess the only real difference, obviously getting used to the time zone there, you'd be fighting in a ring.
Yeah, I've only ever fought in a ring once my whole career. My second fight. So it was different. I mean, it didn't really affect the fight at all itself, but one time. That's it out of the 24 fights.
I think by the time you got into it, all those promotions were kind of trying to get out of using the ring. It was like the cage was proven to be better for mixed martial arts, and I know some promotions like Icon use it, and I can totally see why they use a ring. It sets them differently, but everyone just gets caught in the ropes right away, and it's just too a little bit of a pain for a viewer to keep watching. Somehow, I don't know, in Pride it didn't seem to happen all the time like that. Pride was the only place that made the ring work.
Yeah, that's true. It did, because usually it benefits strikers, right? Because they can't get held up against the wall, and they kind of sit through the ropes and to defend it, where you can't do that in the cage. Or if you get taken down, you just kind of roll out of the ring, and they might restart you. Sometimes standing up. Yeah, I think the ring's kind of gone away a bit, except for Japan. So it would be kind of cool to fight in the ring again.
It would be. I just think it'd be cool to see if they do this cross promotion thing and send some guys from Bellator in the Ryzen tournament, like they did before with the lightweights, where they sent Pitbull's brother out there. So I think that would be fun to do. Excuse me, but the co-main event of this Bellator card, Josh, I'm all for, because it's a catch weight at 175. It's Paul Daly's new division that he's pretty much invented in Bellator. Taking on Jason Jackson, which is a big step up for Jason Jackson, who's really starting to build himself up in Bellator. But Daly at this weight class is fantastic. We saw what he did in his last fight against Sabah Hamasi. I'm a Daly fan for life. Fantastic fighter. And I think Jackson's a guy that could probably be looking to get a welterweight title shot. Though if he wins, do you can put him in front of the line, because this is a catchweight at 175? Kind of a weird scenario, but I'm all for this fight. This fight screams fireworks.
I think it's 75 because of Daly. I don't think it had anything to do with Jackson. Daly's missed weight the last little bit. At least the last time, I think the fight got called off or something like that. Or not the last fight, the fight before that, right?
Yeah, the last one at 170,
Yeah. So I think he just, staying 175 and Bellator loves him so much that just let him fight there. And as far as Jackson, I think he won? Like 4 in a row? 5 in a row?
I think he should have won 5 in a row. In my opinion, he should have won at least 5 in a row. I still think the Ed Ruth split decision loss wasn't his fault. But yeah, he's on a 4-fight win streak. And he looked great against Neiman Gracie back in April.
Yeah, he beat him. And he beat Jordan Maine.
Yep.
And he looks good, man. I think a win here, even if it's at 75, he can make 170, no problem. He's done that. I think it puts him right there for sure. He won 5 in a row. And a name like Daly and those other that were previously mentioned, for sure.
I think for sure. You give Jason Jackson the next title shot, and it does help that the championship will be decided on this card as well. So I'm all for that. As well, we got Aaron Pico on the card. So a nice little Bellator card coming up this Friday, but the action gets kicked off on Thursday with the PFL, as it's the return of the featherweights, the lightweights, and of course, Clarissa Shields making her debut. First question really about the tournaments, Josh. What do you think of the matchmaking? It's kind of odd to me in some ways.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. You know what I mean? And we were talking the weekend how like Clay Collard beats Pettis, and then he's on the undercard now, and Pettis is on the main card. I mean, I understand they're going to put Pettis on the main card because he's Pettis, right? But give some love to the guy that just beat him. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Like, aren't you in the business of also building names up? Like he looked fantastic against Pettis, and he took what the best Pettis could give him. Like, not many people can take a clean kick to the head from Anthony Pettis and stay in a fight. Like, that was Pettis's finishing sequence that he used to land guys with. But I'm just shocked at some of the matchmaking and just the positioning of guys.
Yeah, that one was definitely odd. He should be on the main card. I mean, this Clarissa Shields, she's a boxer that's coming to MMA. To me, that's not really a big interest. What weight is it at?
Clarissa Shields will be fighting, I believe it's 145. Let me double confirm that one. No, it's 155. So
is she in the tournament thing?
No, she's not in the tournament. This is
why? What's the point?
This is in a traction fight because they got the biggest female name in women's boxing to now do MMA.
Whatever. That doesn't. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's me. It doesn't really interest me at all. I would much rather see the guys that are on the roster on the season be that. Like, if you want to throw that fight in as just extra, come see this, sure. But I don't think it should be the main event. I'll tell you that.
I figured they were going to put it as the main event just because of who she is, and I know that not a lot of people know much about women's boxing. I mean, she's the face of women's boxing.
Not to be rude, but do you watch women's boxing?
No, I only watch Clarissa Shields.
Do you know any women's boxers besides her?
In the history, there are some, but right now I could not name.
I could name one.
I could name one or two.
And so I think that's how most MMA fans are. and especially most like die-hard MMA fans that don't really watch anything else, other sports. So I don't see the huge payout in bringing her over as a main event that's not in the tournament. They should just put her in the tournament then. Why didn't they do that?
Well, I guess because she's got no experience as a mixed.
Give her a main event slot with no experience.
Hey, I agree with you to an extent. Considering I know what it seems their thinking is, we're gonna build her up a little bit at 155. We're hoping to resign Kayla Harrison. Boom, there's your big fight someone will test Kayla Harrison, even though I don't see that once Kayla just uses her judo. But still, that's their logic I can see for this women's division.
Yeah, I just I guess, but I don't like it, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I don't mind her coming and fighting because they want to use her for a name in boxing, but I definitely think it should not be main event worthy.
It's such big pressure too, because like Holly Holm came from women's boxing, but she fought on like a legacy fighting or one of these top regional shows to get up there. Clarissa Shields is literally just being thrown right into the main event. Like that's so much pressure for someone that she may train at Jackson's, one of the best camps in MMA, but like this is a learn on the fly kind of situation for her.
Yeah, and like you say, you want to build somebody up, then this is not the way to do it, right? So that goes against that logic too.
It does. It's going to be interesting to see what does happen. But yeah, I think a lot of people have had some questions about some of these fights the PFL has made, not only just for this card on Thursday, but like the heavyweights as well. And like the women's lightweight tournament, like Kayla Harrison's taking on Cindy Dubois, who is a known grappler, but with not much striking. Even Henan Ferreira, who fought Verdum, was kind of questioning some of the matchmaking.
Yeah. I mean, is that snake in the grass Ali have anything to do with this? I know it's not called World Series of Fighting anymore, but who knows? Who knows, man? I don't know. Maybe it could just be kind of random. It could be actually I'm sure it's not, though. I'm sure it's kind of picked.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of logic like that, right?
Well, I would imagine. I really highly doubt they just pick names out of a hat to see who fights next, right?
Yeah, especially like Bubba Jenkins is fighting Bobby Moffett, who's making his debut in the tournament.
Same with Lance, right? Lance is fighting some new guy now. Yeah,
Jesse Stern.
Who's that? Like he was supposed to fight somebody else, like a Russian, I think.
Yes, so Lance was supposed to fight Lazar Stonanovich, but he pulled out because I guess he was hurt, as tends to happen with the quick turnaround. But and I think some of the heavyweight tournaments. Worse, like they've lost Verdum, they've lost Usman's brother for the card in a couple weeks. So
this does this season, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's the only downside of it. Really, it's like if you do fights that are close together, there's not a lot of recovery time.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But those guys are like they need first round finishes basically to have any hope to get into the playoffs. Especially Aubin Mercier, like he's making his long-awaited debut in the PFL, missed out on the week 1 card, and now he pretty much needs a first-round finish to have any hope to make the playoffs.
Pretty much, right? Yeah, you gotta just literally throw everything you have into that first 5 minutes because even you win a decision, it probably won't get you there, right?
No, yeah, you definitely need like a first-round finish within 30 seconds of the fight to get the 6 points. So. All in all, I'm happy to see the lightweights and the featherweights back because I think one of the best fights on the card is Brendan Loughnane and Tyler Diamond. I think this fight will be sensational. We may have criticized some of the tournament making, but this is one I'm really excited for.
Yeah. I mean, I know Tyler well, and Tyler's good. I hope this is a tough fight for him, though. I think this fight he's got to pull out his A game and utilize what he's best at. I think set up his strikes set up his shots with his strikes and look to kind of take Brendan, right?
Brendan. Yeah.
Take him down and just kind of ground and pound him, use that wrestling style against him. But that's a good fight, really good fight. That's probably the one I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah, I'm always excited with these lighter weight classes, and I think they've got some talented names out here in the PFL. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see what happens. And it's, the trend of their next 3 shows to close out June, and then they've announced their playoffs are at the Hard Rock in Florida. So
Nice.
for August. So, and they'll have fans back after not having fans for the start of this tournament out there in New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, that's good. They're they have their show planned for August with fans. Let's hope Bellator can do that too.
I think Bellator's probably got to take some bit of note, like, oh, these other promotions are getting out there we're getting fans back, but as we said, they want to, trend and try to see somewhere else where they can go. But all in all, it's going to be a busy week of MMA, but it's great to see those weeks back, and as well, Ryzen's back. They have a card right after the UFC. So that's kind of a big deal, too, considering the situation of COVID in Japan. So great to see that. And, they're starting their Bantamweight Grand Prix. So Bantamweight's always bringing the action, Josh.
There's so many of us little dwarfs running around.
Well, Josh, as we wind down here once again, go plug your Instagram with many great memes you post on there. Plug it where people can find you and follow you, because it's one of my favorite accounts to follow.
At Gentleman J Hill.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you very much for coming on and spending a weekend with me, and then turn around and do the show. But get a nice little break. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel, to break down all the happenings in mixed martial arts. So, for my partner, the Gentleman of Mixed Martial Arts, the Gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Hagholm. Peace out, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.